we're going to go into how to make any goal meaningful. This is really important to me because a lot of clients really struggle with making a goal important or meaningful to them. They will set a goal and they won't achieve it. So, my question was, why do most of my clients come to me, have a goal in mind, but never be able to achieve it? A lot of it comes down to education, hence why we do the education pieces on here. But a lot of it comes down to the goal just not simply being meaningful enough. So, we're going to go into it and we're going to see what we can do, gang. Hopefully, this is enjoyable because I put this together the other week and I enjoyed it. So, how to make any goal meaningful. First, let's define three things. What makes a goal meaningful? Why do we need a goal to be meaningful? And what is the purpose of a meaningful goal? So, what makes a goal meaningful? A goal becomes meaningful when it is deeply connected and related to the person that you want to become. So a goal becomes meaningful when it is deeply connected and related to the person you want to become. So if you set a goal and it's connected to the person who you want to be in the future, the person you're trying to be the most, the person who is the best version of you, if the goal is related to that, then it's going to become something which is meaningful to you. Why do we need it to be meaningful? Well, goals that aren't connected to the version of you that you want to become are not important and they're easily forgotten about. So if we don't have a goal which is connected to who we want to be, those goals just kind of get left by the wayside. Think of all of the things that you said you kind of wanted to do, but never got around to doing. Like a really good example of this is if you look around your house, there's probably a load of unfinished jobs. And a lot of it is because it just doesn't mean that much to you. If you're someone who really appreciates a clean and tidy and a up together house that looks really good, then that's probably going to be high on your bucket list. But if you're someone who doesn't really appreciate that, it's not really meaningful to you in your life, you've probably got a little bunch of half-finished jobs. And that's just because they get forgotten about because they aren't on the priority list. The priority list may be other things. So a meaningful goal means its importance is so high that you will prioritize it over other things. So for me, when I think about the section we just went through about training is a really big priority to me because it's meaningful. Because I feel better when I train. It's connected to my goals when it comes to a business standpoint. It's connected to who I am as a person. It really helps me with like feeling more confident. Training's just got so much important meaning to me that I do prioritize it over other things. And this is where understanding what your priorities are going to be really important. So, what is the purpose of having this meaningful goal? So, we need a meaningful goal. So, when motivation dies or life gets difficult, we understand the importance of doing the daily actions that help us to become the person that we want to be. I'm going to do it again. We need a meaningful goal. So, when motivation dies or life gets difficult, we understand the importance of doing the daily actions that help us to become the person that we want to be. So if I want to be a certain person and I've come up with the idea that these things will help me get there by doing this piece of work, by doing this training session, by being kind to my partner, by spending time with my family. If I've deemed those things meaningful and I've deemed the things that I have to do on a day to day to get those things meaningful, then it will mean that I can remind myself that I need to do those daily actions because the person I want to be and the person I'm trying to become includes all of these things. So the person I want to be is deeply and directly correlated and connected with the goals and the daily actions that I do. And this is why it's important because what people get wrong when they goal set, they will set goals without identifying why it relates to the version of them they want to be. They will just pick something out of thin air. They will, okay, what is this thing I want to do? Now, it may be something they do want to do. It may be something that is on their mind. We talk about it in training quite a bit, where in training, you have a couple of different things that happen. You have some people that turn up who are in contemplation. They are contemplating whether the goal that they have or the thing that they want is actually worth it. Okay. So at that point, they're contemplating, is this worth it? And then you have some people who are ready to change. And the people that are ready to change have already gone through all the contemplation. They've already decided that it is meaningful and it is something they want to chase. Brilliant. So let's get after it. So they set goals without identifying why it relates to the version of them that they want to be. So a prerequisite to us knowing what goals we need to set is to know who we want to become. So without knowing who we want to be, How do we know if the goals that we are setting are meaningful or not? We don't. And how to identify who you want to become? Ask yourself these questions. What do you currently believe to be most important to you in your life right now? So, what do you currently believe to be most important to you in your life right now? This question is going to help you to understand what your current priorities are. What are the things that you find most meaningful in your life? What are those things that you do over anything else, or you prioritize over everything else, or for you, you just think of when I ask you that question straight away? What are they? Is it your family? Is it your work? Is it friends? Is it that art project that you're working after? Is it the music that you're creating? What do you currently believe to be most important to your life right now? What do you want most in life? Okay. Is it children? Is it a family? Is it to be a successful business? Is it to travel the world? Is it to help people with a certain problem, etc.? What do you want most in life right now? When you're on your deathbed, what will you be proud to have said you have done? So when I look back over my life, and like when people think about regrets, for example, like I don't really want to have regrets, and I don't necessarily think I will have regrets, because I think one of the things I've learned is that life is just life, and it just happens. And the more turmoil you go through, so the more problems that you come across in life, you you do something, you make a mistake, or a problem occurs, or something bad happens, you lose a loved one, you go for a rough breakup, you lose your job, some big event which really shakes the foundations of your life. When those things occur, the more often they occur, the more you deal with, the more you realize that the roller coaster that you're on is simply just going to keep going forever. And it may settle down, but I don't think the actual roller coaster settles down. I think what happens is we just get used to it. So if you go and you go on a big steep drop on a roller coaster, the first time you do it, your stomach will be up here and you'll feel sick and you'll feel all giddy. But if you do that same roller coaster 100 times, you're not going to feel that way anymore because you're going to expect it. You know what's coming. And I just think that's what happens is the more and more turbulent your life is, the more up and down, you realize that it's actually just life. But when you look back over your life and you think about everything you've done and you think about the decisions you made and the life that you wanted to live, are you leaving anything on the table? Are you becoming the best version of you? I really do always go on about self actualization because I just think that becoming the best version of you, one, helps you to be the best version of you, which means that you will end up with no regrets. And it means that you are actually chasing something which is meaningful, and that meaningful thing will keep you alive for a long period of time. But it's also going to mean that you look back over your life and you can be proud to say that you've become the person you've become by doing the things that you have done. What will you, on your deathbed, be proud to have said you have done? Is it traveling the world? Is it creating that family? Is it starting that business? Like, there could be things that you look back on and you go, you know what was most important. The next question is going to cut right to the chase. This is really going to help you to identify what that is. I heard this on a podcast. I'm just like, Hormozi's name's going to be mentioned in eons, I'd imagine, especially in my content. But I heard this on the Logan Paul podcast with him. Not that one, the next one. When you think of your life as a story, what story do you want your life to tell? So if you look back and you look at all of the things that happened, what do you want to say you did? Were you an adventurous person? Were you someone who is creative? Were you someone who loved and lost? Were you someone who fought against all of the adversity they were under? Like, what do you want your story to tell? Because this is going to help you to realize that actually, do you want to live the same day over and over again in the boring life that you feel like you're living right now? I'm not saying it is, because I know mine is a very Groundhog Day existence to someone else, but for me, it's everything that I ever wanted. So in that sense, like, why would I ever sacrifice what I'm doing? Because when I look back at the story of my life, people will say that he did the things that he wanted to do in the way that he wanted to do them. And I'll be very proud of that. But the next one's going to cut to the chase. I promise you it's the next one. What is the reason you don't take your own life? That will tell you the biggest meaning in your life right now. And that will hopefully tell you what your priorities are right now. The reason that's important is because you may be doing things on a day-to-day basis which are skipping out on your actual priority. So you may actually be doing things in your day-to-day basis which you don't actually want to be doing, or you've convinced yourself is the path that you should take. But when I ask you what the reason is that you don't take your own life, you say something different to that thing that you think you're chasing. I just think it's a really good stop. It's a really good reflection, because I have two parts of me. One part of me which is I want to be the best version of me. And I think that's driven from this feeling of never being good enough. I just got that constant feeling of until I'm successful, I just will always feel like I could do more and should do more, and I'm not good enough because of the amount I've done. So I'm always striving to chase goals, which is why my training's the way it is, why my work's the way it is. Like I'm just striving, right? And then I have this other part of me, which is connection. And connection is one of the most important things to me. And the two butt heads, honestly, worse than anything I've ever seen in my life. Because to some degree, for me to achieve the goal I need to achieve, I need to sacrifice connection. Because for me to get better and be more competent, connection is going to hinder that. If I'm sat on a bus and I'm reading a book that's going to tell me about psychology, that's going to help me deal with my clients when they come to me with tough things, I could read this book and I will become more competent. But if someone sits next to me and wants a conversation, I have two options. I can either have that conversation with that person and create connection, or I ignore the connection and I just focus on the competency of reading this book, trying to learn and get better. And that's why the two, connection and trying to be the best version of yourself and getting better at that, are two things which butt heads all the time. And I think it's just a really important question for you to go, what is the reason that you don't take your own life? For the longest time, mine was a partner. That stopped, and now mine is my work, which is driven towards a partner which I don't have. And what I mean by that is, right now, while I don't have a partner that, while I don't officially have a partner that it's all for, I'm doing this for my future wife. I don't know who my future wife is yet, but I'm doing it for that. Which means that my work is actually my priority. So that was my one little hack of how I made my work my priority and made it for me, was to make it actually for my future wife. So it's not even for me, because the connection and the thing that I want is to have a happy life with someone, to have the kids and the family and all of that stuff. But I know by doing this work, it will help me to get that. So what is the reason you don't take your own life? Once you identify what you want, we then need to know why you want it. Okay, so a lot of the things that we want will come out of some source of pain. Okay, so most things that we desire come out of a place of lack. We either don't have something or we didn't have something, so we are in pain. Okay, I'll give a very basic example of this, which is it's cold outside, so you want a jumper. You're in pain, it's cold. Things that we want: to be warm. How we get them? Jumper. So to be warm, we want that because it's driven because we're in pain, which is cold. A relationship is something that we want because we don't have one, and that pain of not being in a relationship and not being with someone drives us to be in a relationship. The drive to go to work to earn money is driven because we have no money and the pain that that will cause. So everything that we want and are after is driven from a source of pain and a source of lack, which means that we just need to identify what the thing is that we are chasing, which means if we can identify the thing that we think we want, we can also identify the thing that's driving it. We not only know what we want, but we know why we want it. We know the pain that it's driven from, okay? And this comes down to motivation. So for motivation, you need a goal to move towards, and you also need something to run from, okay? So motivation is I know what I want and I know what I don't want, okay? So you now know what you want and why you want it. We now need to identify the pain that is driving it and what you're running from. So when I think of the life that I want in the future, I am running towards a life that to me I will deem meaningful because I'm running away from a life that I feel is unmeaningful. And those two things drive me. If I think really deeply about who I could become, if my life went really bad, okay? If I lost my job, I became homeless, I literally hit rock bottom despair, or I got to the point where I was no longer here anymore, what why would that happen? That version of me, which I'm so scared of, can help drive me towards the version of me that I really want to be. So for the motivation, it works way better if you know what you're running towards, but also what you're running from. So what is the version of you that you're running towards? And like, we need to identify that. We need to know what that is, because again, this is all about trying to find what the meaning of your life is to some degree. It's about trying to find who. That's COVID. Um, Now define what you would have to do to become the person you don't want to become. So define what you would have to do to become the person that you don't want to become. So what would you have to do for your life to spiral out of control? So for me, for example, it would be I would have to stop training, I would have to stop going to work, I would have to start drinking every day, I would have to stop showering, I would have to start arguing with my loved ones, I would have to refuse help from people, I would have to uh, isolate myself, I would have to fall in with the wrong crowd. And this spiral can help me to identify what I need to do to become the version of me that I most want to become. Because if I'm running away from something and I know what it would take to create that, well, I just do the opposite. Okay? I know that for me to become the person I want to become, or at least if I know the person that I don't want to become, me is someone who isn't successful, someone who isn't driven, someone who just flakes out at the work that he does, who's never consistent with what he's doing, then I know for me to become the version of me that I want to become, I just need to do the things that I said I was going to do, and I need to be consistent, and I need to do all of these things that would I need to do the opposite of what would cause me to become the person I don't want to be. For me to never be a father, I would have a bad job or be jobless and never improve my financial situation. I would have to be physically weak and or not able to protect my family. I would have to be a dick to every woman I ever met. I would never go on dates, and I'd never improve the way I look, and I would never improve myself mentally or emotionally. We can now easily identify what we'd need to do to become the person who we would have those things. I basically just take out the word never to some degree. I would have to have a good job and earn more money. I would have to be physically strong. I would have to be kind. I would have to go on dates. I would have to improve the way I looked and improve myself mentally or emotionally. Now we can dive a little bit deeper into each point to see what actions I could do to become that person. For me to be a father, I would have to have a good job and earn more money. What does that look like? So have a good job and earn more money. I would have to pick a career or business that I can progress within. I would have to identify the skills that I would need to get further in that career or business. I would need to learn how to get better at marketing. So if I think about me and earning more money in my current business, if I got better at marketing, I could do that. So for me to get better at marketing, I would have to learn, and to learn this, I would have to read, learn, or start a course on marketing or get some mentoring, or I'd have to hire someone who's good at marketing who can teach me at the same time. So for me, I'm literally simply breaking down all I am doing is simply breaking down the goals and the things I'm breaking down, going from for me to never be a father, I write down everything that I can think about. So if I never to be a father, I write down what would cause me to be in that situation. And then I write down what I would need, basically going the opposite. So for me to never be a father, I would have to have a bad job, be jobless, and never improve my financial situation. For me to be a good father, I would have to have a good job and earn more money. And then all I need to do is just break that down further to be like, well, what does it mean to have a good job and to earn more money? And it means to do these things. And then it gets further and further and further down into the actions. For me to be a father, I would have to be physically strong and be able to handle myself in dangerous or threatening situations. To be physically strong and able to handle myself in dangerous or threatening situations, I would have to learn martial arts or how to fight. I would have to go to the gym, and to go to the gym means I would have to strength train 4 times a week. I'd have to eat high protein. I'd have to train to increase the weight that I lift each week. We have now broken our goals down into actionable steps. So we have now broken our goals down into actionable steps. This is really, 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 really important. We have reverse engineered the goal setting process. It's now not about just picking a random goal and then figuring out how to get there. It's about going, who the hell do I want to be? And how do I become that person? And then what are the goals that lead to me being that version of me? That's why we need to identify the version of you that you really want to be. So we're going to keep going. Bear with. We have now broken our goals down into actionable steps. Okay. So, with a link all the way up to the version that we want to be. So I now know that if I go to the gym 4 times a week, I'm going to be bigger and stronger, and I'm going to be more likely to be able to protect my family. Me to be a good father, I need to be able to protect my family. Tick in that box. Amazing. So we've now linked that small goal of going to the gym 4 times a week to me being a father, which is my biggest goal. So, how do we make any goals meaningful? We do it by only setting goals that are actually meaningful. We need to stop setting goals on a whim. Or we find a way to link the goals to the version of us that we want to become. The goal hierarchy. There are 3 different levels of goals, okay? So our superordinate goals, this is our ideal self and who you want to be, okay? So what do you want from life? What is your big goal? This is, for me, it's I want to be a father. I want to be I want to own a successful business. I want to be a really good friend. Like the ideal version of me is a really kind, caring, giving person, loving person, strong, protective person. That is the best version of me. And then we can break that down a little bit further. So our intermediate goals is this is what makes up that bigger goal. So what are the good ways of living, to act, and to being that will help me with that big picture? These are our general goals. And then we have our subordinate goals. These are daily goals and actions that you can do that will get you to your intermediate goals. So these are the daily actions which help the bigger goals, which help the biggest goal of you becoming the best version of you. So what is the goal set? What is the goals that I want to set? Why does it align with the version of me that I want to become? And then we map it. My ideal self, who do I want to be? My superordinate goals, I want to be a role model for my children, my friends, and my family. I want to be a good father who can provide and look after my family. I want to be a leader in my business. I want to think of myself, of who I want to be. That is it. And then we break it down. And I just picked some random bits because it's going to help you to kind of see like where I'm at with it all. We can keep me in there, no problem. Just slide me over here. For me to be a good role model to my children, friends, and family, I'd have to be healthy. Okay, so that is just a general sweeping statement of who it is to be my ideal self. So now we can break that down into actual goals, actual things, tangible things. So intermediate goals. So for me to be a good role model, I would have to be in good shape. I'd have to get good sleep. I'd have to be calm and reasonable. I'd have to eat a healthy diet, and I'd have to be financially responsible. That to me will allow me to be a good role model for my friends and family. And then we can break it down into now actions. So each individual goal that we have in our intermediate goals, we can break down into actions. My daily actions in my subordinate goals down the bottom, for me to get good sleep, it means that I put my phone on charge at 8 p.m. and I don't use it for the rest of the night. It could mean that I read before bed because it calms me down. It could mean that I go to sleep between like 9:30 and 10:30 each night. It could mean that I wake up between 4:40 and 5:40 each morning. So the same kind of circadian rhythm going on there. What this has done basically what we've just spoken about, which is taking our ideal self and we've just gone down the different things, giving you a good map of how you create this version of you, what goals and what like characteristics and what behaviors create that version of you, and then what actions and things that we can do to actually achieve those goals, behaviors, and characteristics that can help us achieve our bigger goal. Creating meaningful goals creates a meaningful life. Don't set goals by just simply picking something out of thin air. Set goals by understanding the person that you want to be. If you understand the version of you that you want to be, you will set meaningful goals. You are strong, you are confident, and you are enough. My name's Charlie. This is How the Body, How the Mind. We will see you on the next one.